Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to the Crew First Culture podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you spending some time with us. I want to respect that time and hopefully try to add a little value to your lives as always. So, today, getting right into it, my kind of inspiration for today, it's an ongoing thing, but a few things have happened in the past couple of days to really put it in the forefront for me and caused it to be the topic I wanted to discuss, and that is really just the situation that we're all dealing with. The just the lives we've had to lead for the past, I don't even know now, 10 months. Especially if you are, somebody that's in charge, if you're a leader of any type of group or crew or whatever, you know, we it has been challenging. I will say, I think that's a pretty safe statement to say across the board for anybody that's in that situation. But also, uh, because of a post and because of a phone conversation that I had, and I'll get into that conversation in a second. But the post comes from Instagram, from Firefighter Success Instagram page, and it's basically got kind of the picture of the Oklahoma City station officer that is in trouble right now for transporting a burn victim, a child, in a fire truck, and basically canceling the ambulance and all that. And by now, I'm sure you probably have heard a little bit about it. If you haven't, it's the information is everywhere. I don't want to get into that because I wasn't. That's not my department. I obviously wasn't directly involved in it. Yes, I've heard a lot of details from several different places, but I'm just not somebody that wants to be the person to talk about that type of stuff. I'm not a rumor guy. I don't care much for that stuff. And so anyway, that's not the point. The point is basically this guy transported a burn victim in a fire truck, got in trouble for it. And so the post from Firefighter Success was the picture of the officer on top, and then below it says, "Do the right thing, even if it means breaking some rules." And so that really kind of made some gears turn for me. And it's funny because that same day I had a really, really lengthy conversation with a station officer. And obviously I'm not going to say who that was or even where it was, but this is a conversation that I'm sure I wish there was a way to have that conversation over these podcasts, because it's a conversation a lot of us need to have. It's a conversation a lot of us need to hear others are on the same page, because it's one thing to feel like, hey, I know this isn't right, but that's what the rules are. And so, you know, if you don't have anybody in your corner on the same level as you, kind of telling you, hey, you're absolutely right, well, you feel alone and you feel like you are the only one that, if you go against this because you feel like it's the right thing to do and break rules, that you're not, you're doing bad, you're a bad officer. And so I'm and I apologize if I'm a little scattered right now. I'm trying to to pass on this information to you in a way that's not going to both incriminate myself and incriminate others. So, I'm trying to be careful, but this was the main area of concern through this whole conversation. And this was an hour and a half conversation I had with him. And the main part of it was this. Their department is being is under a mandate to wear masks all day long. And so, he's trying to be a good, a good follower and trying to set a good example. And so he's putting that as a priority. They are doing it. They are following it to the best of their abilities. And so what is becoming a part of the problem for him is that it is affecting his crew mentally. It is affecting his crew's morale. It's affecting his crew's attitude. Their department, they're not able to even work out without a mask on. They're not able to be out in the bay without a mask on. And so, holding his people to this mandate, this rule, this policy, it's what it's doing is it's taken a crew that everybody used to work out, and now hardly anybody's working out because they don't want to sit there and have to wear a mask while they're working out. And before I go any further, I am not saying I am for or against any of this stuff. I'll probably dig into some of that later. I'm not saying that anybody is right or wrong for feeling like this is the way it should be. I'm not saying that, it's crazy to ask that crew or the department to do that. Well, because a lot of people are wearing them every minute that they work. I get it. Okay, that's fine. Being a firefighter obviously kind of complicates that because for the most part, we're there for 24 hours. Some people have 48, 96 kids, so they're for 48 hours. 24 hours, 48 hours, that is a long time to be in a mask. So anyway, getting back into it, that crew that used to work out, that used to enjoy that time, is starting to not do that anymore. The only area that they are able to go without a mask is then their specific dorm areas. And so that has become more of a norm, is that people will go hang out in their own little cordoned off areas by themselves. And so to go even farther, this is a crew that used to hang out together at night, hang out and watch movies, hang out and play cards, hang out and do things together. Well, now by the end of the day, they're so tired of doing this, they're just all, again, going back to their little rooms and little areas to hang out by themselves so that they don't have to wear a mask. And so it's pretty obvious to see the negative impacts that is causing. It's causing a crew that was probably doing really well morale wise, doing really well teamwork, team building wise, and totally cutting the feet out from under them. And so now they're not hanging out together. They're all in their own little separate areas. So they're losing all of that time together. They're losing all of those chances to build that morale, build that teamwork, build a better attitude just within the entire crew. They're losing that. And so, that's something we talked about. And so, again, this is the part where I've got to be really careful. My conversation with him after just hearing where he was and hearing his concerns and just kind of talking through what they're dealing with, is that it just centers around this thought, and I'll get into it. So, as station officers, as people, as officers in general, we are put in charge of people, and we are expected to be able to make decisions. We are expected to follow this, what we call a risk benefit profile, I guess is what you want to call it, risk benefit method. And so that means that we look at the risk, we look at the possible benefits, and we use that to help determine what choices we make. You know, is there possibly somebody inside this house? Yes, there's possibly somebody inside this house. Okay, so what is the risk involved? This is the risk involved. Okay, is that risk worth possibly saving somebody's life? Okay, that tells me what to do. And so what I told them is, you know, that's what they expect of us when they give us that position. So do you think that it just applies on that fire scene or just applies at an accident? No, it applies everywhere. That model can help us in lots of different places. And I said that, you know, to me, that's exactly what you have to do right there. You have to look at what risks are there, what possible risk you are going to be coming up against. And you have to look at what possible benefits are there to go against those risks. And so to maybe kind of clarify a little bit, if I'm not making much sense. So you're looking at a policy that is causing your crew to break down teamwork wise. It's causing the entire morale of that crew to disintegrate. It's causing the attitude of that crew to just tank. It's eroding the crew's relationship at the core. You know, all of these things that it takes to create a great crew, you're losing. Okay, so you got that on one side you're weighing with. You know, I'm not even going to get into the whole mask thing. Everybody has their own opinions of masks, and I'm not even going to get into it. So you know what kind of things are on that side. You know, what happens if you aren't wearing mask, whatever. However you feel about that, that's fine. And then of course there's the piece of, you know, breaking policy, being that leader, that formal leader of the department that is okay to break policy. And so, you know, you have all those pieces laid out on the table, and when you lay them out and you can really look at them from, you know, a little bit farther away perspective, take a step back and start looking at this stuff. And I'm not going to say how I feel. I'm going to try not to say that. I don't, who knows what I'll say before this is over. But just put yourself in that, you know, that 5,000 feet view of that, of those pieces. Is that policy truly worth following to gain, you know, whatever you're going to gain out of wearing a mask to help protect yourself and from others, with the science that's out there? And again, I'm trying really hard not to get into all of that, but is it really worth gaining that safety of these masks, air quotes, provide us, if you are losing your team? If your people don't want to come to work anymore because of this one policy, is it worth following? And so that's what I really kind of wanted to point out to him. And man, I'm telling you right now, that's where it's hard for me as far as this whole station officer job goes for me, because there have already been, and I'm still relatively new in this role. I have learned an amazing amount just in this short time, but there's so much I don't know. There's so much that I still have to learn. There's so much I have to be better at. But I have really struggled in this area, this followership area, because when I see things that I don't agree with, when I see things that don't make sense to me, when I see things that just don't seem right, it is very, very hard for me to just follow because I am supposed to follow. That's not a good enough answer for me. And it makes it even worse when you're not getting good answers as to why that are coming with these things. If okay, here's a new policy, you're a station officer, you make your people follow them. Your job is to make sure everybody is following this. Okay, why are we doing it? Well, this is just the this is the best thing that we can come up with right now. This is the way it's going to be. Well, that doesn't give me anything. That doesn't let me buy in to that. And again, I'm scattering around, and I'm sorry. I'll try to bring it all back. But this is just a process to me that I don't feel like a lot of these higher up decision makers are truly putting any weight into this. The weight that they need to be putting into the mental aspects of these things. And this is something I have been talking about to my decision makers since the beginning of all this. We shut down our gym, our firehouse gyms to anybody off duty months and months ago. And I said, man, I just really wish that or I said that I really hope that we are really weighing these decisions properly. We're truly putting some weight into how these decisions affect us mentally, just the same as we're putting weight into how these decisions are affecting us as far as the virus goes. Because that needs weight. We need to truly understand that these things are affecting us. And it's hard for administration people that are working Monday through Friday, 40-hour weeks to see that. They don't. And maybe your administration is coming out and they're meeting with the stations and they see how things are going and they got an idea of how it's going, but maybe not. Maybe you don't have administration that is, keeping those relationships alive and checking on their people and seeing how those decisions are truly affecting people. Because I guarantee you, that's not the way it is most places. Those decision makers, they are disconnected. And I'm not getting into the whole, this is a mutiny type conversation. That is not what I'm getting into. I am just pointing out that when the decision makers have totally disconnected themselves from the boots on the ground, from the people that are there doing the work, they don't really understand how these decisions, these policies, these mandates are truly affecting the troops. And so that leaves us as the leaders of those boots on the ground, as the heads of those crew. It puts us in a very, very bad, difficult position, because not only are we expected to be the ones to keep morale up, we're expected to be the ones that push a positive attitude. We're expected to be the ones that are in charge of keeping our crews ready and together and on a great page. But we're also expected to be the ones that push all these rules onto them that we might not even believe in. We're expected to be the ones that make sure to hold everybody accountable to rules that we may not give a crap about. But we're still the ones that are expected to do it. And so the combination of those two roles is a recipe for disaster. And if you don't have any kind of support system, it is a bad, bad place to be. And by that, I mean, so myself, we're a relatively small department. We've got 5 stations. So that means I have 5 captains, which is what I am. I have 5 captains on my shift, including me. So if I were to do it like it should be done and not complain and go to people below me and really kind of unleash some of these frustrations, I try not to do that below me, because I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to be better at not allowing that within my crew, which means I better not be the one doing it. So if that's truly how I'm trying to be, well, that only gives me 4 other choices on my shift. Yeah, there are 10, there are 5 officers on 2 other shifts. There's 10 other people, but I don't really know them. So, are those really options? Not really. And the 4 choices that I have, do I see eye to eye with those other 4 people? Maybe, maybe not. And so what I'm saying is, just as you get higher, your pool of people that you can truly vent to, that you can truly kind of talk with and work some of these things out, gets really, really shallow. And so that's what I mean by that support system. If you don't have other people that you can trust, that are on your same level or above, that you can go to and talk some of these things out. Because is this person going to go up to his battalion chief and talk about this stuff? No. Is he going to talk to him about, hey, I know this is a rule, but man, my guys are really struggling with it. And I need to kind of address it with somebody else to see if maybe it's something that I can kind of back off on. That is not a conversation you're going to have with your boss. Definitely not. And so if you don't have some good outlets, some good people you trust to go into those things with, you feel very, very alone. And that's where this other officer was. And so he reached out to me, and I'm glad he did. I'm glad that I was hopefully able to give him some support, to let him know that he is not alone, to let him know that he's not a bad officer for feeling these things. But that leads back to the decisions that we have to make. And I've talked, at one episode about the weight of leadership, that weight that we take on when we assume that role of a formal leader. And that is part of the hard decisions that we will have to make, is decisions that we make knowing that this is probably going to negatively affect morale, but it's the rules. So that's what we have to do. Or the decision to, I am not going to allow this rule to negatively affect my crew. I'm not going to allow it to break apart everything that we have worked so hard to build. So we are not going to follow it. That is a no-win situation. Absolutely no-win situation. And I feel like there are so many of those right now for me. And this is just getting off into a personal side note here, but this is not just, fire service for me right now. It feels like there are so many decisions at home and work that are like this. It doesn't matter what I choose, which path I take, I know there are some pretty good negatives that are going to be coming from it. And it's just like you're taking a national registry test. You're just trying your best to take the most correct path, or the least incorrect path. Is that's kind of how I feel. That's what we're facing. And so, getting back into that quote from Firefighter Success again, do the right thing, even if it means breaking some rules. And so I'm going to try to kind of close this up in a neat little package here, but really think about that. Do the right thing. Is it right to break rules? No. But is it right to break a rule if it is going to completely tear apart your team? If it's going to completely put your crew in a spot that not only are they not going to enjoy coming to work, but they're probably not going to be giving the best patient care that they would have if they're happy. They're probably not going to be as well trained because they don't want to do anything anymore. It's going to be like pulling teeth to get anybody out and do anything. I can sit here for a long time and just keep naming negatives that can come out of this situation. And so that tells me that it's the right thing to do to put my crew first, to make a decision that is going to help my crew to excel. And are we going to do it in a stupid way? No, we're going to be smart about it. We're going to do our best to be safe and smart. But we are going to protect ourselves. And that doesn't just mean against the virus. It means that we are going to protect ourselves mentally. It means that we're going to protect our passion, our motive, our drive, our morale, our attitude. We are going to protect those things just as much as we are going to protect ourselves from the virus. And so hopefully you kind of see where I'm going with this. And I wish that I could be more candid, but this platform is obviously not the place to be candid. I hope that I was able to pass on kind of my thinking about the subject, the thought processes that we have to use, because I know I was being very gray, but it was just the topic. That's what the topic required. But to go back into that kind of that mindset before we close here, we are taught the risk benefit model for helping us decide what options we have, what choices to make. And so that risk benefit model can be used at the station. It can be used in those times that aren't emergencies, just living your life at the crew level. We can use those then too. So don't forget to put those greatly benefit areas higher up on the food, higher up on the chain of decisions that you make. Those decisions, even though they aren't critical to an emergency scene, they are critical to the team that will be responding to that emergency scene. And that is as much of a responsibility of us as officers as anything else that we will do. We have to put them in a place, the best place we can to succeed. We have to put them in a position that they want to be there. They want to come to work. They want to be excellent at their job. They want to take care of the patients. And if we aren't doing that to the best of our ability, then those patients aren't being taken care of as best as they could. I'm sorry, but that's just human nature. If you don't want to come to work because you hate certain things about work, then your attitude isn't going to be the greatest. Your bedside manner isn't going to be the greatest. Does that make them bad people? No, it's just human nature. And so we need to put some weight into those areas. So that's all I got. I hope that I said something today that is helpful to you. Oh, we are having to make some tough decisions right now. And I'm not downing any administrative position. I'm not downing chiefs. I know that they're put in a bad spot. And I know that we make things worse because we love the rumor mill. We love to, make stories a little bit cooler, a little bit more dramatic. We like to add details, and especially if we aren't truly getting the full story. So I know, the boots on the ground, we make things worse. Make things worse for ourselves, and we make things worse for admin. And so please don't take any of this as me berating administration. I'm not. I truly feel we're on the same team, and I want to be on the same team with these people because we need to work together. But I also know that it is a great responsibility that I have taken on. And so I have got to weigh all options. And so hopefully I gave you some good food for thought. If you are an officer and you're dealing with some things like this, some hard decisions, reach out to other officers on your department, reach out to people that are officers on other departments. Reach out to me, and we'll talk through some stuff. And so I appreciate your time. Thank you. Keep pushing forward, everybody. Keep trying to do good things. It will pay off. If you feel like it's the right thing to do, if you feel like you're doing it in the right way, if you feel like you are doing it for the right reason, then you keep doing it. That's all you need to know. That's all I need to know for sure. And so I'll leave you with that. Reach out to me if you need something. Reach out to me if this or other topics have kind of spoken to you, impacted you. I love hearing it. And so until next time, again, I want to thank Woods Forcible Entry Doors for helping me pay the bills, making this possible. I will say I look forward to seeing you back Thursday. And until then, stay humble and do work. Thank you.